troopers and grinders, we are live here with Hank the Tank. I'm all by my lonesome. We're trying out a little bit of an experiment when it comes to doing a few more daily streams just for an hour or two, just to try to bring some more people into the local community here at Skate Tank MMA podcast, and hopefully have some more people who are more consistent in showing up so we can have some more chats, bring you guys some more content per week instead of just one or two to three shows per weekend. But yeah, I just wanted to test this out. Might work, might not. But in the meantime, while people are showing up, I got a little bit of some MMA updates that I just want to bring up, as well as some of my takes on it. So let's start with Khamzat Chimaev. So he's coming off an injury. He was supposed to fight Robert Whitaker, and then literally a foodborne illness took him out. So I'm not sure if he can take down a lot of middleweights when he's having troubles with the flu. But yeah, after he had that illness, we saw the pictures. He looked in horrific shape. And then a couple weeks later, we already see him out in the forest punching bears, kicking his training partners, being a fucking crazy man. And it comes out Chimaev. I tell you guys, he's back and better than ever. Just ask Khamzat Chimaev, because that man, he already wants a title shot. He already wants to fight the champion, whoever the hell they are, after Dricus versus Izzy. And gotta say, Khamzat, you've been pulling the same game since late 2022, and haven't seen a title shot in your future since then. A little bit crazy, man. I don't know. It just seems like Khamzat Chimaev, he keeps talking a big game when he knows that he has absolutely nothing booked, or there's nothing that he can do at the moment. And so he just keeps hyping himself up. And when there's really no substance to it, man, I'm getting sick of him. Fight a guy outside the top 15. Honestly, you fucking warrant it, dude. You have when was his last fucking? It was against Kamaru Usman in a fight that I thought should have been a fucking draw. Like, that's how I scored it. It was 19-19, both guys. So not exactly the most impressive win you got on your record, Khamzat. And it's in Abu Dhabi too. You never really fight anywhere else anymore because we know why. You hung out with an evil man, good old Kadyrov, and that's gotten you in trouble ever since, dude. So yeah, it's just a shame, man. He's back to the old Khamzat Chimaev, and I wish that were true. I wish he were back to I kill everybody. I take short notice, dude. I'll fight the guy after a week of fighting. I kill everybody. But that's not the wolf Khamzat Chimaev that we have anymore. We got Logan Paul scammer Khamzat Chimaev. We got hanging out on his couch, shooting a little FaceTime video of myself, brother. Why won't anybody fight me? Khamzat Chimaev back again, and Lord have mercy. God help us all, because that's just the start of it, dude. I mean, he's training. He looks great. He's in shape. He's always looks great and in shape until he doesn't. He's got that Zabit physique, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know about Khamzat Chimaev, man. Maybe he fights in October. That does actually seem like quite the possibility. But again, now he wants a title shot, and we know we're not going to see that. So what the fuck are they going to book? Hank the motherfucking Tank. Hey, man. Hank the motherfucking Tank. Hey, we got Pete the Train in the NOFC here to go into the chat room, hang out with your boy Hank. Oh, man. Good old No Chill. Oh, man, you're the man, brother. Thanks for attending the stream. I wanted to do some chitty chat and talk with some motherfuckers. Hey, Sean, how's it going, man? Thanks for giving me the answers to that little Comic-Con you went to with Jake the Snake Roberts. Let me tell you, man, I had my favorite matches with Steamboat, and I had them with the Ron Garvin. I'll tell you, I got hammered, all right. You want to know why they call him the Hammer? I tell you, I had a lampshade on my head. I was with 50 bitches. I tell you, it was fun. And then my dad came into the room. Yeah, good old Jake the Snake, dude. He's one of my faves. I'm glad you got to talk to him. Jake the Snake's a legend, man. I was trying to get a T-shirt of him, but it never culminated. He had the most badass looking T-shirt, dude. I gotta watch some more Jake the Snake promos from the 1980s. You feel me? You hear me when I'm talking? No Chill MMA. He's back. Khamzat has been beaten 0 ranked middleweights. That is true, including Kamaru Usman, who wasn't really a middleweight. He's been a welterweight his entire career. I mean, he's a little bit of a weight bully, so maybe he is actually more of a natural middleweight. But that was his middleweight debut. Same with Khamzat. So if you want to call Khamzat someone who's not a middleweight, Kamaru Usman sure isn't a middleweight. So he has earned no title shots. He's really earned next to nothing, in my opinion. So I agree with James C. He should just go fight Costa. It was booked before. It can be booked again. Costa brings people into the building with the secret juice, And, Khamzat's going to smash your secret juice, brother. Smash it big time. So, yeah, I mean, that fight books itself. And these two got unfinished business. You hear me? Khamzat is a great fighter, but his career is forever limited, not only by illness, but by who he has followed and hung out with politically, along with him just overall being sort of a coward, in my opinion. One thing I will say is we've actually seen sort of a host of MMA guys who have gotten injuries in their last fights, and they come back like a couple weeks later and they're already training. Like they're trying to pull an Alex Pereira. Sham, training, Paliana Viana on my face. And they're sparring immediately afterwards. They're going out in the woods. They're doing their Rocky montage. They're going up the Philadelphia steps. They're trying to bulk up, man. They're trying to have their comeback. So I got to appreciate the effort at least. UFC is greater than boxing. I mean, that's what you was saying before, Juiceman. And I got to say, first, I'd say 3 or 4 months of the year, I'd say you'd be wrong about that, brother. UFC was not as good as boxing. They, Inoue had a hell of a KO. There were a bunch of 5v5 shows they had going on, title fights that actually mattered and had fun results. Like, while UFC was just pumping out fucking UFC 297. To UFC 298 with fucking Ilya being the one highlight and then everything else being rancid garbage. You know what I'm saying? So January and February, I think boxing had UFC's number. Yeah, he said he got his larynx crunched. Yeah, he did. Oh, was that by Ricky Steamboat or by Ronnie Garvin? It had to be Ronnie Garvin because he does not hold anything back with his blows. Like the hammer, he listens to a lot of the MC. Stop! Hammer time! And he... Bam, bam, Maxwell Silver hammer came down on Jake's head, on his neck. And that's why he had that raspy voice. Maybe it wasn't as raspy before, but he sure lost that voice. Hey, the Juice Man, Marty Juiceman, Marty from Nebraska. And he said the quiet speakers are the best promo cutters, and he'd smoke a J before a promo. Oh, that is fantastic, dude. That makes all the sense in the world. That's why he was so sort of out, and he had like very mellow and sort of semi-closed eyes whenever he talked. Just like he was coming off a split. You know what I mean? So that actually makes a lot of sense why he was so cool and calm whenever he was doing his promos. Cumshot undeserving. Yeah, Cumshot Chimaev, I tell you guys. Hey, man, it's Colby Covington. I'm here with my 4 bitches, you guys, who totally had sex with me, and I'm not just paying them to be here. Oh, Cumshot Chimaev, I tell you, where is he? You're next! You're next! I'm not crying, you guys. You are. You're next! Oh, you filthy animals suck! Oh, wow. Ah! Live! That's right, Mutua Sablan. By the way, Matua, I can't help it. Whenever I see your first name, I just think of that scene from Indiana Jones 2, where it rips out the heart from that little boy's chest. Kaliba! Maybe you could give me some context so that I don't sound like a bigot. The coal miner's glove match. Oh yes, that's gotta be Jake the Snake's greatest match of all time. I tell you, when he fought over a weird glove that was on the top of a ring and it was somewhere in the corner, and then they go back and forth and there aren't a lot of maneuvers, and then it's like fucking the board on a pole match in that fucking WCW in 2001 or something. Didn't that have something strip something on a pole match? No, briefcase on a pole is like the worst Money in the Bank style ladder match. God, that's been around forever. That was around before ladder matches. God help the people who actually bought a ticket for those. What happened? I have no idea, man. You got to tell me what happened so I can tell you why. Oh, good old Juiceman. He likes my jokes. I'm the next Colby Covington in WMMA. Actually, Sean, I'd say you're more like the Andy Kaufman of wrestling in that you'd take on all the women's champions, and you'd probably cower in fear a little bit as they beat your brains out, and then you'd find a way to win with little schoolboy roll-up pins. So yeah, I think you do a better job in wrestling, and plus honestly, man, you're getting up there in age. Somebody's probably going to pile drive you on your neck, so it might as well be Jerry Lawler. Thank you. Yeah, well, I know that. I know a mumble mouth. And then he proceeds to mumble in his mouth. I do a little bit of mumbling myself. So me and Colby, we're tight. You know what I'm saying? We got that lack of charisma in common. We got that charisma until we don't have it in common. You know, we can't help but fumble and bumble a little bit. Yeah, and he got hit by the snake and lost. That's a good one, Sean. Oh man, I'm tearing up just thinking about that. Yeah. Are you talking about Randy Savage and the snake? We were talking about that earlier. Interesting story for everybody who doesn't know about that. So Randy Savage, in case you didn't know, he was a little bit of a maniac, macho maniacs out there. Oh yeah. And he has had moments of schizophrenia backstage. And one of those was with Jake the Snake Roberts. Oh yeah. Fuck you, Jake. And he was supposed to have an angle where Jake the Snake brought out his pet Damien, who was supposed to bite Savage on the arm because he had put a snake inside of Miss Elizabeth Skifter in their wedding. Oh shit! And Savage was in an angle with him, and he told Jake the Snake to slap the lizard. Slap the snake and make him really angry. No. No. Oh God, that was Jake the Snake's idea. What he was really planning, he was like, "Oh, Jake, be careful, man. I don't want to get any poison from that thing, brother." And so he wanted to make sure that the snake wasn't venomous. So he actually made the snake bite Jake right in front of him for like 3 or 4 minutes, and that pissed Jake off. So then once they actually had the angle, Jake slapped the crap out of Damien. So that once he got him in the ring and Savage was all tied up, that snake chewed on his arm, dude. Snake was trying to take the fucking meat off the bone for like 10 whole minutes. And they were like, keep going, this looks awesome. And Savage is just writhing in pain and agony. So like that's some karma for him. And Jake the Snake fucking rules. He's the legend for life. Matua is a Pacific Islander name. It is a common name in New Zealand and other islands in the Pacific. There is a wine called Matua. Nice. Well, Matua, I actually have a question for you. What do you think of Israel Adesanya and Robert Whittaker and Dan Hooker and their big beef over who's a real New Zealander and who isn't? Did you ever see that story? It's a little fucking ridiculous that they start making a whole fucking argument about nationality and ethnicity on fucking New Zealand. That was pathetic, and it's one of the first signs that Izzy was a bit of a psychopath. I stopped watching WWE when Sammy beat Braun Breaker clean. I mean, that wasn't too long ago. That was literally like a fucking week ago. I mean, if you told me like, oh man, I stopped watching WWE after John Cena and Team WWE beat the Nexus, I would be like, oh yeah, well that makes sense. Rotten booking, fuck Cena. But like, dude, that was literally like a week ago. I mean, there's been some fun stuff on the weekly shows since, some fun booking, and the Wyatt Six have been really good as well. So I don't know. I wouldn't completely tune out of that. It's a bit of a dramatic statement. Michael Chandler running out of options waiting for the Conor fight. Meanwhile, he's working retail for the time being, saying, "See you at the shop at Conor McGregor. Hey, I'm at the sweatshop making red panties, man. It's red panty night. I'm embroidering it up, man. I'll see you at the shop, the sweatshop." I'm talking about the American hustle. I'm talking about American motivation. I'm talking about the American dream. Okay, and you got to get yourself up by the bootstraps and get into that fucking Taiwanese little spot and then have them make sure that you get all that shit out in 5 seconds. That's called America. That's called the grind, man. What time? Get them in. That's the American hustle. I'll see you at the top. Well, no, chill. That wasn't too long ago. Exactly, Sean. That makes you were setting up that comment like it was fucking 10 years ago. Bigoted up. Oh yeah, I absolutely will. Bigot is the American dream, you guys. Bigot is my middle name. My father gave me the Bigot name, and I really took that that title seriously when I was at the clan and they were burning those what's its and they were wearing the hoods. I tell you, I felt like a real bigot there. My father. Yeah, I just stopped watching. I was enjoying it until then. I mean, no chill, wouldn't you be sort of mad at Sammy beating Gunther in the first place? I mean, that's what really sort of tuned me out, was the idea that they wouldn't give it to Chad Gable, who was a wrestling machine. And a thing about that too is that um, Gunther was losing his belts in NXT to guys who were the best technical wrestlers in the world. That was his sort of thing. Like you're supposed to be the ring general, right? And you're supposed to be the best and beat the best, right? And then the guy who beats you for your Intercontinental title is Sami fucking Zayn, the guy who was doing the something. He's feeling really juicy. I'm getting the popcorn. And he's the guy who beats Gunther after he was a joke. Not a joke. Now listen, I like Sami Zayn as a character, but he ain't no great technical wrestler of all time. The guy's sort of a clown in terms of how he performed himself, like Santino Marella. And that's the guy who beats you for the most prestigious title in wrestling. That makes no sense. I tuned out after that. Why build a guy like a monster, then have him lose to a taxi cut cab driver? The thing is, No Chill, he wasn't really built like a monster at all. He was tag teaming with Baron fucking Corbin, like literally 2 months ago. The biggest jobber in professional wrestling. He was a tag team with that guy. And he already lost his title in NXT as well. So it's not like he's an undefeated monster like Goldberg. He went on sort of a decline a couple months ago. And, some wrestling fans were already saying, don't give it to fucking Braun Breaker. He just got here. Give it to Chad fucking Gable, the guy who paid his dues and already had a good story going into that fucking rivalry with Sami Zayn. The fact they didn't give it to Gable at all makes no fucking sense. And then I was actually happy that he beat Braun Breaker. Fuck him. But the way I asked the question, because as a kid, that was a horrendous time, and I asked if he was scared. It went too far. Maybe you shouldn't have done that. I didn't ask you to do that. So it's nice. You feel like you really know somebody after a while, and then it starts to get a little too personal. You feel like he's like your best friend, or you've had a million talks. You got to keep it to a minimum and try to make the question as simple as possible. That might be on me for how I phrased the question before, but it's up to you to execute it. It's cool. I hope they recognize that the Maoris are the indigenous. I hope they can articulate accurately how they and their families arrived to that island. I don't even know if it's all about that, Sable, and I think it's honestly just about race and skin color, and that's how it's been for Izzy. And they dig up dirt on these guys, and then it's all about nationality and ethnicity. I don't think any single one of those guys are the Maoris at all. I think they're just Brits that got fucking sent out to sea to a fucking prison. So honestly, they're the fucking colonizers. They're literally arguing over who's the first colonizer. He said he enjoyed the snake on Macho Man, and in real life he was scared of snakes. And in Macho Man, yeah, we knew that. But if Jake was afraid of snakes, that would have been a little weird. He literally was murdering people on TV. Well, then that's on the WWE, dude. That's on the WWE for booking themselves into a corner. That's like Goldberg versus Triple H, that feud where he was spearing guys through the fucking cell, pressing them against the steel, like being a badass, just spearing people out of their shoes, defeating The Rock, and then have them lose. Yeah, that's atrocious booking, but I've definitely seen worse. Not every undefeated prospect can win a title. If Khamzat is a scoundrel and a charlatan, and Khabib is being charged for war crimes, is this the beginning of the fall of the Eastern Bloc Fighters Empire? I think it was the end of the empire once Khabib and Islam's coach passed away, because he was the one who was training the first Dagestanis to be champions, and they've been the only real Russian champions that we've ever had in the UFC, was because he trained them both. And so I think that's just a matter of really good coaching. It's like Tim Welsh with O'Malley. Like, it was a perfect combination. It's what got them to the top. And no other Dagestani fighter seems to have been able to find their way up to the top without like having some weird draw like Magomed or like with Shemaev just being sick. It's just not in the cards. Or like Umar Nurmagomedov and just injuring himself and never being in the UFC again for an entire year. So the thing about the Dagestanis is they take absolutely fucking forever to get to the top. And so they're never really going to make it to the top. No, Jay asked me about the snakes, so I put it all in one question for a full perspective of what went on. All right, that's cool. Let's talk about something else besides this. If Luke Rockhold was the first to wear the leg sleeve on one of his legs, is it good, bad MMA math to 100% declare that Luke Rockhold is Allen version of MMA? Okay, that's a huge question. He wore a sleeve on one of his legs. Is it good, bad MMA math to 100% declare that he's the Allen version of MMA? I'm not sure. You're gonna have to rephrase that question. He wore a leg sleeve. Okay, but did anybody else do that before Luke Rockhold did? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to move on to another topic that we could discuss potentially. John Jones. He is facing jail time for him threatening a member of not USADA, but a random drug testing agency that has seemingly replaced USADA. A woman, I think her name was Crystal or something. She showed up in his home. He acted absolutely ridiculous and then threatened them, and at one point took away her phone as well. And so now she's charging him with, I think, partly assault, part like a misdemeanor for threats. And so now it's serious enough that if he is convicted, he's in jail for a little while until Dana can bail him out again. And so, I don't like that. The thing about that, Dana White, what I wanted to say is that Dana White has zero excuses at this point. I honestly think, this is my little conspiracy theory, that's the reason why Dana White has been glazing John Jones for the last like 3 or 4 or 5 months, is because Dana knows that Jones got himself in fucking trouble by threatening those drug testers, and now he has a chance of going in the clinker. And so now Dana White wants to hype up Jones as much as he can and keep the prestige of Jones, because if he doesn't and then Jones faces jail time, then he's just going to get in the same mess that he did before when they stripped his title. So Dana might want to, he's trying to like elevate him before he gets sentenced, so that, oh no, see this, there's a reason why we need to get him out now. Why? Because he's the greatest, he's the GOAT. So we got to get him out of jail, and we got to get him for that Stipe fight. Yeah, you guys, ever, he's the best. And I just think it's trying to, the thing about when Dana's acting weird or when he's not talking about something a lot, it usually means that there's something going on behind the scenes, and we were wondering to ourselves what it was. And with Colby Covington, the reason he was gone for a while is probably because he was trying not to threaten charges after Jorge Masvidal attacked him. And in this case, I think there was, a misdemeanor and an alleged assault and alleged threats. And now Jones is coming under legal fire again. And so now Dana has to like keep things together and be the sort of cleanup crew with this one. And I don't just mean cleanup as in clean up his legal scandals. It's clean up after John Jones and people he meets in his car when he's going down the corner, finish their thing. He's the cleaning lady for the car seats afterwards. But Dana's playing cleanup at this point. He was trying to beforehand to take some of the sting off this legal challenge, I think. Allen Iverson. I'm going to look him up. Give me 1 second. Okay. Oh, yeah. Allen Iverson, American former baseball shooting guard. Wait. No. Basketball shooting guard, sorry. I'm going to look up leg covering. I don't see any leg coverings. So what does that have to do with that? Oh, is it like the big pants that he was wearing? Oh, okay. Yeah, he had huge pants. I get it. Okay, that was a nice little joke. Nice little visual joke. I like what you did there. Allen Iverson is an athlete. If you got $20 million right now, what are you doing? I didn't get $20 million. He gave, I think, AJ said that he would give $20 million to Dylan in bot, which, makes it that much more valuable. So if you want some money to loan, you got to ask AJ about that. John Jones may need mood inhibitors. Yeah, he does, because I believe that the drugs that he was using to as when he was cheating to make him a better athlete in the UFC. I think it changed up his mood a little bit because when you have enhancers and you have blockers, those two together, they tend to affect the emotions and affect your mental headspace. And so as he started taking more and more drugs over time, I started to get a little bit more nuts. And on top of that, he's he's on a certain side of the spectrum. You know what I mean? He's unorthodox sexually, so not on the straight and narrow. So that combined with the drugs driving him crazy is a very scary combination. That's unfortunate. Dana can invent some excuses. I would love to be a part of that think tank that creates excuses for Jon Jones. Yeah, well, he's like Drake, right? He doesn't work alone. He's got his pack of ghostwriters that he's got to go through and make sure to cook up something good so that I can make sure that I win this rap beef against the media. Because, oh, God, they got so many exposés about Jon Jones. They've figured it out, man. Game over. And so he works with a social media team, and they try to just they just play clips of Jones going meh, 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 over and over again for inspiration as to why Jones is the best. Bah, bah, bah. And then oh, I got a perfect idea, man. Hey, he's really good at cheating, you guys. He's been a company guy even when he's been in jail. Now, can you say that Jon Jones has ever taken a day off? He is committed to this sport. It's life that's taking him down. He's the best ever. Prime Volkov or Prime Struve? Oh, God. Battle of the elevator tall Russian heavyweights. Was Struve ever really that good? He had decent striking, but it was all against little guys. Whereas I feel like Volkov could do well against just about anybody, because I think just he's got better technique with his long legs. I honestly think you could argue that Prime Volkov is this Volkov that we're dealing with right now. He's got the striking ability. He's using his height to his advantage whenever he can. Struve did that too, but he did that with punches for the most part, and he just happened to have really good angles on guys that he was fighting. And so I think Struve is more reliant on his advantage, whereas I feel like with Volkov, regardless of what height he is, he would be a really good technical striker. And he's one of the best and more technical guys in any heavyweight division, not just the UFC. And besides that, he's also a really good grappler. He got Tai Tuivasa in that Von Flue choke, which was, I don't think Steven Struve could ever be able to do that. So I feel like at some point Volkov could probably shoot a takedown on Struve and he'd probably get it. And then he could sub him. Or he could use his long legs to an advantage, sort of like Jones does. Prime versus Prime, Jones or Prison? I think we know the answer to that because Prison has won out quite a few times. Jon Jones, he's found his jail bitches over time. And so, he's got a good distraction there, but for the most part, if Jon Jones was permanently sent to prison, I think he'd probably be dead at some point. I think somebody would shiv him, and he'd probably like it. He's got that masochist aura. He lets his wife do it to him, so he got to have somebody else who can do the plug-in, And so I think he'd get a little bit too masochistic while he's in prison. I honestly don't think he'd be a top. I think he'd be a bottom. So as much as he has a physical advantage over a lot of people, like I think there's a absolutely sadistic and more self-hating side of him that would want somebody to, be the alpha for once. And so I think that would be the worst. If anything, Jon Jones could drop the soap in the shower and we'd never see Jones again. And probably he's fucked over so many people's lives that eventually somebody in prison would take him out, like that guy against Dahmer. Because we all know he's a monster, even the people in prison who have been around before Jones. Prime Fedor or Prime Verna? Oof, God, that's a tough one. Because Fedor's scary. He might be a robot, but I don't know what the hell Verna is. Like, we don't really have any theories about her. She's sort of a phenomenon, man. Like, she's an unknowable object that, like, you're gonna see Verna's corpse eventually in like an Area 51 warehouse, like that scene in Indiana Jones at the end where it's like just a long hallway just full of different areas and exhibits. Like she's just somewhere sealed inside of there. That you got to make sure that she doesn't get let out, or you'll end up like Belloc in the first Indy film. It's horrible. It's so ugly. Brains exploding. So if you open up the ark, you'll get Verna Jandaroba. You know what I mean? And I think that Fedor would be like, "Oh God, what the fuck is that?" And then Verna would be like, and then she do her little eye trick that she does, and I think it would be like Medusa, and Fedor would be like, turn to stone. You know what I mean? Just looking at Verna Jandaroba. You can't be looking at Medusa, man. So I feel like Verna probably turns him to stone. Prime versus Prime. Jon Jones or Josh Barnett. Battle of the Cheaters. Didn't Josh Barnett, didn't he win at light heavyweight as well? But he's a cheat, but he doesn't have the size of Jon Jones. He beat Randy Couture, right? I mean, is that a really great win to have? I know that Randy Couture has good wrestling and that, he's a legend, but he wasn't able to take down Josh Barnett worth shit. And I honestly think without drugs, Barnett would still beat Randy Couture. So, but against Jon Jones, he's way taller. And again, it's like my Volkov argument. He could just use his long limbs to an advantage. He might get taken down by Josh Barnett, but Jones' grappling is very underrated. It's just what won his last fight. So I think it's with his tall frame, he'd be able to switch Josh Barnett in an instant. And we didn't see a lot of instances of Barnett getting popped intentionally before that moment. So he might not actually be drug-filled for that Jon Jones. I mean, it is in his prime, so maybe he will be. But I think Jon Jones has better stuff. He's got better dealers. He's been hanging around with Marty Usman's dad. So he's got the good stuff. You know what I'm saying? And even if Josh Barnett won, he could be walking outside of the arena and Jon Jones would just run him over with his car. So I think in a battle of life or death, Jon Jones would probably win that one. Prime versus Prime. Here we go. We are Prime. Hey guys, Logan Paul here. What's this? It's Prime, man, Prime. You gotta get it. No sugar. Well, I mean, it's got a few sugars, but it's got no electrolytes, dude. Those are bad for you. It's electricity. This has sugar, man. You need your sugars. And Prime drink, man. It gets you in prime shape. I mean, look at how I got these muscles, man. Oh God, I need a needle. You look at how I got these muscles, man. Oh, good old Jake. Hey, Jake, you're going to fight Mike Perry? Oh, you're going to do bare knuckle? Oh, I don't think so. Hey, get the Pokeball. Fuck Logan, dude. Fuck Logan. Hate that son of a bitch. Prime versus Prime. BJ Penn versus Aljamain Sterling. I got, ooh, that's actually a good one. It's a battle of the grapplers right there, I'd probably take, God, Prime. Yeah. I think I'd take BJ Penn over Aljamain Sterling just because BJ Penn, it seemed like it was just easier for him to get the hooks in when he was getting on guys. Like, I know that Aljamain had a great performance against Corey Sandhagen, but he really hasn't been able to get a guy in good submissions and good holds for, I think, a while now, ever since, like, the TJ fight. Ever since Peter Yan, I'll be honest. Like, his grappling's good. He's good at getting guys down. He's good at locking up the backpack. But unless you've snapped your shoulder, like, he's not going to be able to get you into a position where he's going to finish you. Whereas BJ Penn, I feel like BJ would sub anybody. Even Aljamain Sterling. I think if they had a battle of the scrambles, if they had a UFC Fight Pass grappling match, I think that BJ Penn in his prime would probably win that one and tap him out with a rear naked choke. BJ Penn was a master in his prime, a master. If Jon Jones is out, does Aspinall title turn into the Undisputed? How do you think that gets resolved? I think whatever happens, they're not going to make that an Undisputed title fight because they absolutely hate Tom Aspinall. It's guts. They hate him. They hate the idea of Jones even fighting Aspinall, and I think even if Jones is in fucking prison, he'd rather stay in prison than fight Tom Aspinall. So if he goes to prison, they'd probably strip him and then they'd have him just fight for a belt down the line. They wouldn't make that an undisputed title match because they just hate the idea of Jones being in a position where he's in trouble or where he doesn't have the edge in a contest, or else then Ngannou looks really good, even though Ngannou got knocked out by Anthony Joshua, so he's lost all of his stock, but somehow they're still scared about him. It's just so weird, dude. I was talking about how Dana Glazing Jones could have been just a reason to hype Jones up as the best heavyweight in the world as a prelim to that jail time, just to sort of like make sure he looks really good right before he's charged. But I think an even bigger reason could be that, again, Dana's just fucking obsessed with making sure that Jones looks better than Ngannou because of that canceled fight between the two and Ngannou leaving the UFC. So, it's the same thing here. He's so obsessed with Jones being the pound for pound greatest heavyweight in the world that he wants to make sure that he's probably still champion even when he's in a jail cell. It's at that point where Dana's glazing Jones more than he's ever glazed him before. They might have no choice but to strip him if there's a situation that they really can't handle regarding his legal charges, but they've been able to handle him before. And I don't know, you'd need big pressure from the media in order for Jones to be stripped. And I think there's just too many soys in the MMA media to actually press Dana on this thing really hard to the point where he strips Jones of his belt. I don't see it happening. And honestly, you could easily just get Jones out of his fix. They've done it before, and he's kept his belt. Same thing happened with Conor. Do you know anything about the Lynch MMA Joey beef? So MMA Joey made some accusations about James Lynch that seemed unfounded. He sounded like he was a guy from fucking QAnon saying, "Oh yeah, he's trying to hide them kids, I tell you, but yeah, they got to set them kids free, you hear me?" And he's just making baseless accusations about James Lynch, it seems. And Lynch is just hitting him with some shots and trying to uncover Joey's history. So I tell you, man, it's the new Drake versus Kendrick beef, dude. This is going to change the game for MMA. No, it's a battle between somebody who has 20,000, somebody who has 10,000 subscribers. Who fucking cares, man? I think I like Lynch more than I do Joey. I think that MMA Joey is utterly biased in most of his fights. And I have my political persuasion, but he actually invites politics into MMA and allows that to sway his opinion on who he favors in the UFC and what's going on with company stuff. Like, I think he's just a shill for his own ideology. I have my ideology, and I don't stay that committed to it. Imagine getting in a feud with James Lynch, who's just smiling all the time and being a good guy. If he's having a beef with you, you know that your soul is sort of corrupt a little bit, corroded. John Jones goes to prison. Does Aspinall set himself up to go to prison to challenge for the prison title? Also, what crime does Aspinall go to prison for? Oh, well, I think you know the crime that he'd go in for. Have you ever been fingered by a UFC fighter? What would it take? Give me that! And then his wife's like, "Oh, Tom, oh!" You know, he goes to prison for the same thing that Jones is going to prison for. You know, he's pulling an old Greg Hardy. He's pulling a Jones. He's pulling a Jamal Hill. He's going against the person's consent there. He's shown signs of it before. He's like, hey Nina Drama, want some candy? You know, ever been? You know, I think that you're out of my league, man. I just got to ask you some follow-up, because you Nina Drama, you asked the strange ones, you know, and so I just had to fire back. You know, I just had to fire an interesting question at you, and I think eventually Tom's gonna snap. He's going to be tired of Jones not defending his title against him, and he's going to take it out on a woman, I tell you. And then he's going to turn into John Jones over time. And then when he goes to prison, he'll be Prime Jones, and he'll be Wash Jones. And so he'll make John Jones his bitch, whether it's in the octagon or it's in or it's in his cell. You know, either way, they're locked in. And Tom Aspinall is definitely going to make Jones scream, "Uncle!" Or he'll make him sing a little birthday song. Tom Aspinall, you are my sunshine. When the rain comes, I love you. You it's pretty. So John Jones is going to make for a prime prison bitch once Tom Aspinall goes to the clinker. But he lives in London, so I doubt it's the same prison. Aspinall. More Aspinall. Oh, brother. Oh, brother. Aspinall may be nice to commit, maybe too nice to commit a hate crime. I'd tell it's not going to be a hate crime, but it's definitely going to be a crime of passion. But it would be a nice touch and contrast of his character. Well, I told you, man. I told you, Matua, about the Nina drama shit he got into earlier. Like, even as a, Tommy Aspinall stan, I was like, oh God, why'd you say that, Tommy boy? Why? Yeah, I'm glad that it wasn't before that her interview didn't come out before the Sergey Pavlovich fight, because if it did, like, I would have just felt sort of weird going into that fight. I really wouldn't have anyone that I'd be rooting for. But I'm glad that I had to have that moment where I celebrated with Aspinall before all that weird shit came out. But yeah, it would definitely be of a more sexual nature. His evil atrocities. John Jones equals Temu OJ. Yeah, that's right. I don't think John Jones has killed anyone, but he's come pretty damn close to doing exactly that. So, and wait, Temu. Let me look that up. I've seen Temu before, but I need to look up the term. Oh, okay. Online marketplace. Oh God, wait, is that? Are you saying Temu because he's discount? That's a good one, man. Oh, that's classic, dude. You just replace discount with Temu. That's fucking hilarious. They call me Mr. Bombastic, Mr. Fantastic, and they are going to the club and they go, oh, hey. I saw a Biggie Cheese hip hop design on Temu. What the fuck? There's like a Winnie the Pooh bed that they got on Temu, and you sit in his lap. You sit in Winnie the Pooh's lap. Oh, bother. You know what I mean? Oh, Jesus Christ. Christmas print V-neck, and there's like a hole in the pajamas. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? Oh my God, dude. Like, these are actually disgusting products. Like, oh my God. Like, that's an OnlyFans site waiting to happen, dude. Are you kidding me? Winnie the Pooh or Chris Barnett? Prime for prime. Chris Barnett. Just wait, is that the fat guy? Yeah. Oh yeah. It's the battle of the stuffed animals. I think that Chris Barnett would try to throw a spinning wheel kick at Pooh Bear, but Pooh Bear's on a balloon, He's trying to get that fucking honey. So as soon as he's in that cage, he's like, oh, look what's on top of the arena roof. It must be honey. Oh, I'll get a balloon, a nice blue balloon, and get up to the top of that arena to get that honey. Ooh, I'm scared. And then Cross Barnett's like, believe in yourself, Winnie the Pooh. Stand up for your life. I love you, man. This is my favorite thing. You get that honey, Pooh Bear. And he's just like motivating Pooh as he's going up to get the honey. He's trying to do a self-motivation book for Winnie the Pooh. You know what I'm saying? And Winnie the Pooh would not be fighting Chris Barnett. He'd be stuck in a rabbit hole somewhere trying to get him some money, honey. Who can down more honey jars, though? Oh, it's got to be Pooh. It's got to be Pooh. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, there's a whole montage in Winnie the Pooh of just him going from like left to right, row by row, eating. I mean, he fell into a fucking honey pool in like a dream, and he ate that shit right up, dude. So if anyone's more experienced in just downing the fucking honey into his pipes, no Jones, no Diddy, it's got to be Winnie the Pooh. You know what I'm saying? Just been more experienced of the two of them. I think Chris Barnett has eaten a person though. Because how the hell else is he stuffing himself to that degree unless he ate who was his last opponent? Hold on, guys. I need to get some realism here. Chris Barnett, what a guy. Also, I think that he had a fight booked like a couple months ago, and that got canceled. And I'm sort of sad about that because he's quite the character, Jake Collier, yeah, he ate Jake Collier. That's why he has his current physique at the moment. But I'm sure that he could still throw a Chun-Li helicopter kick going, completely 180 degrees. The guy who did Winnie the Pooh voice was here for the Comic-Con. Wow. Oh yeah, you told me about that. Um, did you approach him or did you just see him for a second? Like, did he do a few impersonations, or is he like, "Hey man, I used to be Winnie the Pooh," you know what I'm saying? And then I got throat cancer, and I don't know, voice acting so good anymore. I used to be that little Pooh Bear, but my daddy he introduced me to cigarettes, and now I got this hole in my throat. You know, I can't do it no more. Nah, I didn't go over there. Well, I gave you a preview, Sean, so you got to be careful. Don't meet your heroes, Sean. Don't meet your heroes. They always end up letting you down, I tell you. Moving on to the next big subject of my life. Bum 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 bum. The Sphere. Oh boy, I'm about to go there, man. I don't like a lot of things about the Sphere card. Dana White is calling it the biggest show in all of sports, and he only means that physically. It's just because it's a giant sphere. In terms of the actual card, he doesn't even have as many fights as the last fight night, Rose versus Cortez. Like he says that it's to promote Independence Day for Mexico. I don't fucking buy it. I actually think that they only have 10 because they could only find so many Mexican talents actually worth a shit on their roster. Uh, and you know, it is good talent. It's probably better talent than Namajunas versus Cortez, but I don't know, dude. I smell a bad card a mile away. I've just been noticing with these pay-per-views, they usually fucking stink the bed. And I'll also say that name value doesn't mean anything in combat sports unless you're literally like the champ and you're defending your belt and you're a badass, because most of these fighters on the main roster deliver absolute fucking stinkers because they're really just politicians who don't have that much skill. And so whatever people hype them up to be, they don't end up delivering in the octagon. So enjoy the prelims when you can, but as soon as the main card starts, you might as well be using the bathroom or like getting a snack and looking somewhere. Oh yeah, what's going on? Oh no, never mind. I'm talking to my buddy, because you might as well be doing that, because if you get invested in a main card on the UFC, they're gonna just fucking let you down every time. I hate these fucking weasels on the main card. Anyway, another thing, there were rumors of Holloway versus Topuria for that card as a main event, and that apparently is not going to be happening. Instead, it's going to be Sean O'Malley in the headliner, most likely. Not from Mexico, no relation to it whatsoever. And he's taking on Marab. Yeah, that's going to be a really fun fight, I tell you, especially when Marab is just dunking O'Malley on his back over and over and over again. And the only way that Sean O'Malley saves that fight is if he knocks Marab the fuck out and hits him with a big right hand and puts him down. Because otherwise, it's going to be a fucking bore fest. I like Marab in terms of his personality and what he's got in terms of comedic ability, but the guy can't really fight orthodox to save his own fucking life. And so I'm going to enjoy watching like videos of him. I'm going to enjoy the press conference. If he brings out a Mexican flag and is like Mexican Marab before the show starts, I'm going to fucking pop. That would be a fucking amazing moment. But honestly, I think that'd be the most fun we'll see from Marab for that event, because otherwise it's his whole game plan is just going to be having O'Malley against the fence and kneeing him or just getting him down and not doing anything with it. His fight style, I could do without. But yeah, with Sean O'Malley, he's a great kid. Not as a person, but he's a good fighter and he's got a really flashy style. But O'Malley couldn't sell a fucking show to save his life. I mean, it'll be a good fight, but Sean O'Malley, he's not going to talk people into the building. Let's just say that. And then you got Grasso versus Shevchenko. I expected that. She's the only Mexican champion they have left, because Yair Rodriguez and Brandon Moreno both shit the bed, not only in losing their titles, but looking like absolute bums on that Mexico card. So yeah, they're looking for some more talent to fill their shoes, because it's not looking good at the championship level for Mexican MMA fighters. So that'll be fun. They have good back and forths, Valentina and Grasso. But then you're not going to have Holloway versus Topuria. I mean, come on, man. You got to have something to fucking save the show and bring people in. In the meantime, No, I didn't go over there. I bum rushed to Jake's table and told him that I'm a big Marty Jannetty fan. And told him that Marty told me to tell him hi. Sean, come on, we gotta talk about some MMA here, brother. I know you want to relay your personal experiences, but it's about MMA. We gotta talk about. And let me tell you, like, MMA fans do not like talking about wrestling that much because they have a hidden insecurity that UFC in any way could be somewhat related to professional wrestling. They claim that it's not, but those press conferences and all those interviews and those characters that MMA fighters put on widely disagrees with that opinion. Without, again, I said this before, without wrestling, there is no UFC. And so UFC just has a little bit of a little man complex because wrestling's doing really well at the moment. And so they want to distance themselves from wrestling as much as possible. But wrestling is UFC and UFC is wrestling. Autograph for me. To see that moment every day is all, but my buddy who's in charge of MMA, Marty's show, is going to get me an autograph, blah, 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 and see if he remembers me from the coming. Okay, Comic-Con. Marab. Yes. Marab's fun. He's definitely fun. As a personality, I really like his short videos, but you can't teach an old dog new tricks sometimes, and I don't expect Marab to be putting anybody out cold. My MMA days of glory was Dan Severn and Tank and Don Fry in the early days. Yeah, but did you enjoy that podcast with Tank Davis and Joe Rogan? Did you listen to that one all the way through? Tank has quite the personality, man. He's never been that amazing on the mic, but he's always been very likable and definitely has a wealth of knowledge. And he fights how we want to see tanks in the UFC fight. So he lived up to his moniker from beginning to end of his career. And he's a fellow tank, you know? So I got to shout out my homie for helping the UFC grow when it was in its dark days. And then Dan Severn's so much fun as well. You know, he used to be in wrestling as well. He used to come out on 1997, 1998 Monday Night Raws. He had one of the most badass themes. Oh, I got to do that, Dana White. He's got a badass theme, I tell you. And if you don't know, now you know. Dan Severn was a scary man in wrestling and in the cage. And he was a good guy as well. We used to have real fucking men in the UFC, and now they're all this bunch of soy fucking degenerate Nelk boys. I love Andrew Tate bitches. That's the truth. And they're all fucking skinny bitches too. Anybody who actually has a build is either Alex Pereira or is a flabby fuck at heavyweight. All these other guys are fucking little cheese stick morons. He's just a constant takedown machine. Yes, sir. Gotta love Dan Severn. And you gotta shout out to Mark Coleman too. He was a takedown machine too. You know, as shady as that as the presentation style of the early UFC shows was, I really enjoy all the early shows. UFC 1 through 10 is my fucking shit. I love the tournaments. I love that it's sort of like professional wrestling where it's just introducing new guys. It's doing video packages for them. I told you video packages just like wrestling and how they'd introduce their characters. And that would make you get to know them. And, you know, it just felt like it was a show and that it was like a flower that was just starting to bloom. I love those shows, even if the production value is a bit shoddy. Shamil Gaziev running for president impression. Does anybody even know what Gaziev sounds like? I'd probably try to be like Al Gore since I see gas in there. Well, I am running for president, and I invented the internet, okay? And after I became a star on social media, and I was hanging out on the interwebs on those chat boards, I tell you, with my big flabby ass, that'd be perfect. So therefore, I am running for president of Britain. I know we got a bunch of fat fucks in there already, and we got that orange man, and I'm going to be his right hand, is the right hand flab, if you know what I mean. And hold on. I'm running out of breath. I'm halfway through my speech. I'm almost there. I promise. Just give me a second. Oh, what? No, you're going to stop the speech? Hey, come on, man. I was going to kick his ass in that last round. No. Oh, God. Somebody take me home. I need an ambulance. Get an ambulance. Call an ambulance. And that's for me. Yeah, Shamil Gaziev would die on the podium. He'd fall forward. You know, his cardio would run out as he was running out of breath talking. Yep, I've watched every one he's done lately, brother. The original Tank. Yeah, Tank's cool, man. He seems like a kind guy as well, and we need more of those people in the sport. Don Fry is my guy. Hey man, hey Hank the Tank, Don Fry is my guy, man. Yeah, Don Fry. I really like him with ketchup. I also like him with mayo. Every once in a while, he's nice to dip into things, and a fry. It's delicious, man. The French love those. Oh, Don Fry. Ho, ho, ho. But yeah, in all seriousness, Don Fry is a tough sob. He's got a really nice mustache too, and he had that fight with that Japanese fighter in Pride where they just hammered each other in the no Jones and no Diddy, hammered each other in the corner over and over again. That's one of the all-time great images in all of mixed martial arts. So Don Fry is an American Chad, and he's losing brain cells for the old U.S. of A. Don Fry's the man. Do you like Randleman, Kevin Randleman? Kevin Randleman. Let me just get an image of Randleman because I know his fights, but I need to know him by just looking at them. Wasn't he? I think he was. Was he a heavyweight champion at some point, or like a middleweight champion? Yeah, he was a wrestler as well. But I think he countered a guy's style with like a head kick or something, and that's what won him a world championship. Yeah, I see him. He's got a world championship. He beat it was either Mark Coleman or Don Fry or something. He had actually had the striking to boot. And so that's what actually won him a bunch of his contests. He was like one of the first big strikers and kickboxers to win gold and have success in the UFC. And Kevin Randleman, I believe, had a lot of fun fights in Pride as well. So Kevin Randleman's a G. I think he's in the UFC Hall of Fame already for winning gold in the UFC. So it's definitely deserved, like especially back in the early days. But nobody probably appreciates Randleman because he was around with the UFC during the dark age, and it was just tough to become a star during that point. UFC was just bleeding through finances, and not a lot of guys are that memorable for that era, despite other than like the big four names. Ask Will Sasso for an impressionation. Will Sasso. Oh God, yeah. Will Sasso. Hold on. I'm gonna find him. Not Ted Lasso, but Will Sasso. Oh God. Canadian actor and comedian. Oh yeah, spot on impressions of Jesse Ventura. Well, I tell you, Vince, this guy, I don't like him. I don't like him that much, Vince. I think that he's a real piece of work. And if I was in Minnesota, I'd tax the shit out of him. And I think that 9/11 was an inside job, Vince. I think he was a real piece of work, Gorilla. I'd like to go one-on-one with that scoundrel, Will Sasso, Hey, No Chill can get a short-term fight. Oh, yeah, that's right. No Chill is supposed to be taking on Hank the Tank, right? Or I'm supposed to be taking on who else? There's a few more. Hockey from Homer or Irish Animal. Those two have their characters as well. Isha Helwani. What the heck? I have to fight. I'm used to just covering that shit and making stuff up. What the heck, you guys? My nose is messed up already. Short notice. I tell you, I was on short notice, my brother. I was eating steaks and drinking breeze in Brazil, and they called me up on short notice. And I answered the call, and now I'm in the NOFC, my brother. And now I want a paycheck, my brother. Moicano wants money, and I want to get it from Dan Hooker. The roid age. You mean the roid rage? I mean, you could apply that to a lot of people. The original blonde hair UFC fighter. Yes, that's right, Kevin Randleman. He made his hair blonde, sort of like Gorgeous George back in the day. Old Freddie Blassie, you know what I'm saying? Let me get to my next topic. Oh, wait, no. I could still talk about the Sphere for a little bit. Yeah, so they only have 10 fights on the card. It's not stacked whatsoever. They're squeezing everybody into the Sphere as well. Literally, the lowest seats from, as per Dana White, they have to stand. The people, and not just stand for the fighters. They have to stand with a D. No Jones. They have to. They don't have any seats. So basically, they have to be on their feet for the like 4 or 5 hours. And maybe the 10 fights can help with that. Maybe it's to make sure that people are in and out of the building really quick for health and safety, potential health and safety violations. But it just sucks. It sucks to be a fan going to these shows, man. First, it was the fucking Britain card being on at like 4 a.m. in British time. And so everyone's going to be fucking exhausted in there and get out of their fucking mind because they don't even know what time it is. And then now you got a Sphere card where people are forced to stand on their feet and horrible human conditions. Everybody's packed in there like it's a fucking football game, and people are squeezed against the fence, getting suffocated. You know, it's just bad marketing, bad promotion. I think it's going to be a fucking disaster, to be honest. I think something's going to go wrong, and it's going to result in some casualties with the amount of people that they're stuffing into the Sphere. Going beyond just health and safety violations, the card itself just has some Mexican fighters. It was really stupid because they had Ignacio Bahamondes and Manuel Torres, and those are two guys that could have had two big fights on that card. But instead, they make them fight each other, and now you don't have. Now you'll just there are still spots to fill, and you're not going to fill them up with another extra fight with either Ignacio or Manuel. So you're going to have them fight each other, and then you're probably going to have some fucking scrub of a fighter from Mexico on next. Probably a fucking what's his name? Edgar Shirez on the card later. Or, you know, that fucking guy the fucking Mexican flyweight who then got exposed in his next fight after a 5-second KO. I just hate that they have to pander to having fucking Mexican fighters in fucking Las Vegas. I know that there's going to be a nice Mexican fan base there, but do you seriously have to make it about, oh, it has to be all Mexican? We have to have 10 fights for Mexican Independence Day, even though it's not happening in Mexico whatsoever, and it's actually happening in America, which fucking hates Mexico. Oh, yeah. It has to all be about Mexico, I tell you. Like, it's just pandering to fucking nationality instead of just putting on some good fights. Obviously, I'm not saying don't have Mexican fighters. Yes, have Mexican fighters. Have like 3 or 4 or 5. Make them make up like, you know, maybe half. But have all Mexicans on every single show. You know that some of them are absolutely mid. You know that some of them are trash and don't deliver under pressure. So it's going to be like 5 or 6 fights of pure fucking rubbish if it's all fucking Mexican fighters that are too tough for their own good, so they're not going to get finished. They're not going to get submitted, as powerful as they are. And there's not a lot of name value there. There's not a lot of star power in Mexico. You got Brandon Moreno and Alex Grasso. Everybody else who once had name power has been fucking beaten and turned into a jobber. Or there's Manuel Torres, and that's it. So I just think it's ridiculous, and they're just so dependent on appealing to a certain base that's not even where they're going to be having their show. And then if you don't have Ilya versus Max, I'm going to fucking riot. I don't give a damn if Ilya Topuria is, you know, Spanish and, so the fan base is going to hate him. Good. Have them hate him because he's a hateable piece of shit. You might as well be booing him. And so, you know, you'd have Mexican fan base come in there just to see the Spaniard get his lights taken out by Max Holloway. They'd have Max Holloway beat the brakes off of him. Of course they'd come to see the Spanish fighter lose. He's their fucking sworn enemy. It's like fucking wrestling. Like Ariel Helwani's like, I mean, why the heck would you have a Spanish guy in the main event? People aren't gonna watch that. What the heck, you guys? And Ariel Helwani once again speaking for the UFC solely based on rumors. But if he's somebody that you hate, you're gonna pay to see him get knocked out or finished. That's what a bunch of people did with Conor McGregor. They fucking hate Conor McGregor. They probably hate Jones, and that's why they pay to see Jones put out. You need to have good heels, and Michael Bisping as well. You need to have bad guys, Chael Sonnen, in order to get people's attention so that you could watch this guy get his mouth fucking shut. It's like we don't know what's marketable anymore. You used to follow wrestling logic. Oh, Tito Ortiz, he's a bastard. People want to see him put out. Let's put him in the main event. Oh, you know, Josh Koscheck, he's a real piece of work. He's a fucking degenerate. We'll put him in the main event so George St. Pierre can kick his ass. They used to follow wrestling logic and it actually made them a boatload of money, but now they don't know how to promote fights anymore. It's purely based on where they are. Oh God, this person's from Colorado. Just book him there. It doesn't actually make sense, and you're not actually making this the greatest card of all time in the Sphere. You're just fucking pandering, and it's getting in the way of a good show. I'm just sitting here eating pizza and waiting for the call. Oh, you got it, boss. Eventually, No Chill's going to put you in the NOFC. He's going to get you in there for a fight. I'm Dana White, and I'm looking for a fight. I tell you this, Sean. I love everything about this kid, Sean. I love him. I love his receding hairline. I love everything about that 40-year-old kid. Card is whacked so far. Absolutely. And it's because they got nothing but jobbers there, dude. Got low-level talent on that card. And just because they appeal to the people who are going to be, like, literally half, probably, of the people who are going to be watching it, doesn't mean that they're going to deliver an exciting fight. One championship going down. It's definitely going downhill. It's definitely on a downward spiral, but it's going down tonight, as John Anik would say. Sean, you're booked. Yes, sir. I told you, Sean. I told you you'd be booked. One championship going down. Yeah, I hope that one championship gets grinded through the mud, because their product is absolute shit. Their MMA's fucking garbage. I'd set it on fire. Just keep their fucking Muay Thai, and then Bob's your uncle. You actually have some good business. Stop your stupid little extensions out to new reality TV shows and having no name value in divisions that nobody watches. Actually, just focus on Muay Thai, and you actually might turn a profit. No, like, they released a lot of talent. Wait a minute. They released a lot of talent. Well, now they're paying attention, No Chill. I hope that it was mostly MMA guys. I hope that it was fighters that are bringing the company down. You know, this might be a good thing, because I've been talking about Chaudhry jail for quite a while now, and it would be nice to see some of those guys get set free, whether it's through a bullet or it's through a release form. You know, it's life or death how you get rid of them, but you might as well get rid of them. The jail's getting overfilled. You know. Oh, apparently 900 million of debt. They're losing all that money from Chaudhry delivering fucking 50,000 every single fucking fight. That $1 million worth of debt is probably just from the money they paid fighters alone. You got 900 million baht of debt from Chaudhry. Okay, cool. Thanks there, No Chill. Like all their producers. What do you mean they're producers? Are their producers jumping ship? It definitely doesn't have the best production value, but is that about to go downhill? Oh, Jesus Christ. A lot of talent. So are those producers talents, really? I mean, if I was thinking talent, I'd think like some of the fighters, but the producers do put the show together. I feel bad for them. When it becomes a corporate atmosphere and you're just having layoffs and layaways like every couple seconds, that's when you know it's a sinking ship. You might as well be playing the violin on the way out like the band. ONE FC, man. They had a lot of promise, but I think they thought that MMA was going to be their fucking golden goose, and then DJ hasn't been around, and then everybody else in MMA is now in just Muay Thai and kickboxing, and then Fabricio Andrade, I think his name is, he was in MMA, and now nobody gives a shit about him. All these guys in MMA's turn into fucking scrubs, or Jared Brooks throws somebody on their neck, and next thing you know, he's stripped of the belt, and MMA's on a fucking downward spiral and one. And you just see it in the fucking fight nights that MMA is just, it should be non-existent in ONE at this point. I don't think ONE has ever profited. The video game didn't help. Oh, Jesus, they tried to make a video game. Ugh. Oh, God, it's probably the most rotten video game on planet Earth. I don't even want to look it up. Lots of backstage staff, and the letter to the cut employee started off with, "ONE is pleased to announce." Oh, man, they really got sadistic with that one. They were happy to get rid of all those fucking young money grubbers. If they're not in Muay Thai and they didn't put on a great performance, they don't get any baht from Chaudhry Chaudhry. If they're not the fighters, Chaudhry isn't so generous, He should have had his fucking apprentice show for people on his staff, not fucking fighters. He's such a fucking moron. I hope at his next press conference for the ONE show, I literally hope he has an aneurysm during the press conference and he just falls forward. It'd be the best thing to happen to everybody. Finally, you can set Nelson Mandela free from Chaudhry jail. All right, moving on to my next big topic. TJ. He sees reality, even though he got popped for EPO. He still sees the real picture way more than Anthony Smith does. Basically called Smith a bum and said that he crumbles and does not have that lion heart on the second round. He's usually on his back, like John Jones with his wife, and he just gets pummeled and bullied by people in his own weight class and now people below his weight class. Once the fight goes on long enough, and TJ said that on the Rampage podcast, and of course, Jackson and his cronies, they're shills for certain guys in the UFC, so they were trying to cancel out that noise. But TJ's right, man, and I've never been angry at TJ. I know that he cheated at one point, but when you really look into it and you see how he had to go down, how much was it? It was like it was 10 pounds. 10 or 15 pounds. And he looked like a fucking corpse come weigh-ins day. And he took a drug that would help reduce, the heart rate so that he could finally get down to that weight after he'd already put himself through fucking hell for months. I honestly felt a little bad for him during that time. People want to make a joke out of TJ, want to call him a snake, but TJ tries to be there for the event by all means necessary. I mean, he still gave you a show, and he gave you Henry Cejudo knocking his ass out, even though he probably knew beforehand that he would lose with how fucking weak and frail he was before that fight. You can't say that TJ isn't a company guy in terms of like him showing up even with injuries and with problems like his shoulder. Like I know that TJ probably was on EPO when he was getting the bantamweight championship and going on his big run, but still delivered a lot of entertainment, dude, and he made that bantamweight division what it is today. So I've always been a fan of TJ, and now he's right about Anthony Smith, and just saying it how it is. And now Anthony Smith's going back and forth with him. Oh yeah, you cheated. Yeah, well, even without EPO, I think that TJ Dillashaw would have a better run at bantamweight than you ever could at light heavyweight, because you win every single one of your fights via fucking fluke, because you have zero talent, zero precision, zero speed, and you just get beaten up by basically anybody that comes your way, and it wins fights via miraculous, interventions from God. And then you don't take the title when John Jones knees you, even though Jones had a screw job coming for the last like 4 or 5 years after all the shit that he's pulled, and you don't take away his legacy. You're a fucking pussy, Smith, and you deserve everything that comes to you. So TJ, he enlightened Smith a bit, and honestly, this could be the best thing that ever happens for Smith, because Smith is so fucking delusional and hyping himself up, and when he loses, oh yeah, it was a bad night for me. Oh, I had a terrible training camp, and then oh yeah, once he wins, oh, I'm ready for Pereira. He's just in his own fucking head, just like he's in his own head about defending his own fucking family during a fight. He should be locked away in a fucking loony bin. And maybe TJ telling him the truth a little bit could clear his mind a little, maybe make him a little more lucid. That's the only news I can get from that, is that TJ basically is exposed him on the internet. No, did he? And now he just has to suck it up, basically. What a piece of shit. And I hope that they cut Smith after he loses again. Smith's body is so broken down. He's been fighting a long, long time. Yeah, but has he ever really been good? Has he ever really been great in the striking and the grappling? Has he ever really been a talent? He's always been mid in his division. He's never gotten even close. Search Anthony Smith and look at his ESPN picture. Oh, God. Oh, God. That's horrifying, dude. With the fucking glasses. Jesus Christ almighty. Ugh. He looks like fucking Mark Zuckerberg if he got a tan and shaved himself. Fucking orc, dude. I tell you, the next fight we need to see is Anthony Smith versus Buskan Guskov, just so that Smith's brother from another mother can fucking knock his ass out and claim his rightful place as the head of the family. That's the only thing I see in Smith's future. He's a bum. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, I think all my homies hate Anthony Smith at this point. You know what I'm saying? Any thoughts of John Jones' arrest? I actually went through it. It's just classic John Jones, right? He gets in trouble every 2 or 3 years doing something ridiculous because it's a combination of him being a deeply closeted homosexual and him taking drugs that have warped his headspace and his emotions that have made him a more violent and unpredictable person. And so, yeah, we were going to get incidents like this at some point or another. It's a combination of all that and the fact that he's injured. And so he can't do any fighting. So now he's real angry. And once he's out of the sport for long enough, he takes it out on someone else. And so he was probably drunk. He was probably walking around his mansion. And then the testing agents came in because that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to get the jump on you when you least expect so that they can actually get a valid result for a drug test. By the way, Jones was a real bitch about it. He wouldn't even let him take a urine sample when they came to his house. He made them take a blood sample, which is one of the most unorthodox and probably sketchy ways of getting a sample for drugs I've ever heard of. And before all that, he was like, "Oh yeah, what are you doing in my house? There's a woman back there. You're a bunch of nerds. You're nerds." Is probably what he said. I hate you. I hate you. Bouncing his head off of things, and then he took her phone away, trying to act all cool and macho because he has not a bit of qualities of a man in him, and yeah, he got himself in trouble once again. He's done worse, obviously. Like he's hit a pregnant lady with his car. He's done terrible things to his wife, and yeah, he's just committed so many crimes at this point and done so many things that have fucked the UFC over and fucked the fans over and fucked himself over. That are we really surprised by this? Like, the real question to ask is what are the implications of this for the UFC in terms of what they do with the heavyweight championship and what they do with UFC 304. But I think the easy answer to that is they'll do nothing because they are absolutely obsessed with John Jones being the greatest of all time in order to have the UFC have that prestige, even though John Jones arrests and all these moments where he's almost stripped of his title are actually really bad PR for the company, and they're just fucking over the heavyweight division, not making it profitable, not making any good fights for the undisputed belt and like the baddest man on the planet division. So Jones has been ruining the UFC's business for years. I don't know why they still defend him. I don't know why they still protect him when the only reason would be that there's like either dirt or he's just so angry with Ngannou or glazing him because still obsessed with keeping this heavyweight champion the heavyweight champion. It's all about business. We know that Dana hates Jones. He's made text messages where he's called Jones a scumbag. And let me tell you, if he calls you a scumbag, he probably means it that you are a scumbag. I hate this guy. Oh, that Ariel, he's a real scumbag for outing a fight that was planned literally, a day ago. What a jerk. I hate his whole family. And so he's called Jones a scumbag. He actually probably hates Jones. And he keeps DC on his staff, and DC's worked every single day of his life as a commentator. And I don't mean that. He's been on a bunch of shows for the UFC and stayed around and never got himself into trouble, old DC, Olympic fucking Chad, even though he's a little delusional as well. But he keeps DC on the payroll, and he still glazes Jones that much, even though DC's a more loyal guy than Jones ever was. And literally you had to break the news to DC that Jones cheated, and like you reached out for DC and you were a kind friend, and you put your hand on DC's shoulder to comfort him, Dana, and you're still going to glaze Jones. You're a fucking immoral piece of shit. If anyone's a scumbag, it's you, Dana. Yeah, Dunzo. I hope he's Dunzo. He never will be. We'll never escape Jones. He's like, what's the word for it? It's like it's Kafka-esque, where we're just going to be dealing with Jones forever. Like, this is our eternal punishment, is that we're going to have Jones in the UFC when he's fucking 80 and his head's in a jar. He's still going to be fighting for the UFC for a belt and holding up divisions as long as he lives. Hank, when is your rap album going to debut? The thing is, man, I've actually been working in editing. I've been you saw the opening track of my album with that intro for the channel. So I'm just getting started, dude. But art takes time. Art takes time and effort, and I don't know. I got to pull a Kendrick, man. I got to be gone for 5 years and then come back with a masterpiece. So as long as you can survive for the next half a decade, then you'll see the rap album. Trust me. He should have not been an MMA guy anymore. Yeah, he should have retired after he lost to Dominic Reyes, and he did lose to Dominic Reyes, and that should be viewed as an official result because as much as the UFC wants to claim it's not boxing, it has the judges of boxing for sure. And in that, when it's their big talents, they're super fucking rigged, right? Not down the middle. They're from side to side. They are not down the middle. The house always wins when it comes to the big stars in the UFC. So they gave that decision to Jones, but it's clear that he lost in everyone's minds against Dominic Reyes, and he scurried away like a little bitch because he knew that he lost. Little man syndrome, despite being 7 foot tall. And yeah, he should have known that he was washed, and then he should have just quit the sport. Hey, it's the GOAT, Drew. That's right. Good old GOAT. Honestly, I think that Andrew would probably do a better impression of a GOAT than John Jones did in that fucking shit post-fight interview. All right, we got a conversation going back and forth. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm Flavor Flav. Hey, I'll give you that Greystone flavor. I'll leave toothpicks in your teeth. Hey, man, don't watch that stupid HBO shit. I'm busy watching the boxing fight. Don't believe the hype, man. You gotta take that television. I'll throw it out the window, man. My old boy. What's his name? The guy from Public Enemy. Public Enemy. Don't believe the hype. Don't. Flavor Flav and Chuck D. Hey, my man Chuck D is gonna tell you to fight the power. We gotta fight the power that be. Hey, my man Flavor Flav, and we're Public Enemy #1. Dana White hates our guts, but we keep it clean and we dig it on top. You gotta have good rap, and when it's Jones, that's a rap. That's fools in the pen for State 10. Yeah, so fuck Jones. From the mean streets of Kensington. That's right. Hey, I used to be a fent fiend, and now I keep it nice and clean, man. MMA is my only addiction I got at this point. I'm an MMA junkie. I'm an MMA junkie, Hank the Tank. I gotta love Rising. I gotta watch Rising. Japan is where it's at. Real rules, real MMA. I tell you, Hank. KRS-One. Oh, yes. Classic KRS-One. That was 1989, I think, was when he by all means necessary. KRS-One's a fucking classic, dude. I could talk about 80s hip hop all day, but once again, it's not related to MMA. But it should come out to more rap songs. I mean, when was UFC peak rap in terms of having rap songs for people when they enter the cage? They should do that more, because rap's one of the most hardcore, scary genres of music out there. I don't know why. And if it's rap, it's fucking like something Due Calispo or whatever the fuck his name is, doing some Latin rap flavor, or doing some techno beat pop bullshit. That's not real rap. Where is Idaho these days? The Skatesman, he's been busy. Outside of the podcast, he has a job of his own where he does a lot of heavy work, and he tours the country. That's why we've had podcasts where he's been in multiple locations and random parts of the world, because he goes around the whole country doing jobs. So the man is fluid. You can't hold Idaho Skatesman down. He's got to get to the next skate park ASAP. So that's the reason why he's not here for the week, because he's doing his job. But once he's working for the weekend, you know what I'm saying? He's gonna be around once Friday's here, and then we'll see a lot of the Skatesman. Yeah, the Skatesman. He's a solid dude. He's a good dude. A very hardworking individual. Let's move on to my next topic to discuss in MMA. We're almost done, folks. We're almost done. 30 more minutes. Dustin Poirier. He said he was open to fight quite a few people. He had an interview with John Anik where he said, "Well, Dustin, Out of this list of names, who do you want to face tonight? This list is brought to you by Toyo Tires. Dustin Poirier at the moment is dealing with the custody of his wife with Conor McGregor. Oh! Dustin Poirier! He's the baddest motherfucker in court! Dustin Poirier keeps Joe Lee! What a guy! Joe Rogan's like, oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Well, Dustin the Diamond showing forth that Dustin Diamond ring to Jolie. Diamonds are forever until she says no in the octagon tonight. Do the Weeknd song again. Oh yeah. Everybody's working for the weekend. Everybody's going off the deep end. All right. Everyone's watching to see what you will find. Everyone's going tonight. I'm gonna look for the whole thing to see what you will do. Everyone's looking at you. Everyone's wondering, will you come out tonight? Everyone's trying to get it right. Get it right. Anyway, that's enough of that. So with Dustin Poirier, he has a list of fighters that he would like to come across tonight. Those included Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira, brother. Hey. Champion has a name. It's Charles Oliveira, brother. Then there's good old Colby Covington. Hey, Motormouth. Dustin Poirier, I'm with your wife. You know, I'm pretty sure she was in one of my videos. You're next. And then Justin Gaethje, who honestly should go into a mental asylum after Max Holloway sent him to the Shadow Realm, and he's never really come back. There's a Max Holloway fight as well. He just had a bunch of big name opponents that they were thinking that that good old Dustin the Diamond Poirier could have for his return fight. Honestly, I am not a fan of Dustin Poirier having a return fight. I think, honestly, some of Dustin's best work was against Islam Makhachev. Between his last 3 title fights, I'd honestly say his fight with Islam Makhachev was the closest. And that's crazy because everybody says that, oh, Islam Makhachev, so much better than Charles Oliveira, so much better than Khabib. The dude was getting pieced up during moments. He was getting hit with elbows that were splitting him open. He bleeded, man. He's no Khabib. The man bled from his forehead. That means that Khabib is so much better. Oh, Khabib. I tell you, MMA started existing once Khabib was born into the world. And if you have ever anything to say different, I'll fucking shank you. I'll send in a bomb threat. You know, he's fucking Dagestani Glazers. But Islam Makhachev, he's way better in terms of the striking. But I tell you, when he keeps it close with certain guys, Dustin Poirier had won that 5th round in their fight. He would have gotten one judge's scorecard in that fight. And Dustin Poirier, that's an incredible performance. Islam Makhachev is beating the brakes out of everybody else, excluding Volkanovski. That was a great performance for your last one, Dustin, with a lot of iconic photos. Like, why would you not leave the sport on that fight? I don't get it. Why are you giving yourself a chance for somebody else to put you out cold and take away all the legacy of that great fight with Islam? It's just strange, man. John Jones will pull a Bruce Jenner. Yeah, I'd hope so. At least he'd be true to himself. Actually, that has less chance of happening than that has less chance of happening than him fighting Tom Aspinall, because Jones will never come out because he's a devout Christian. Oh, Lord, help me in my time of need. I've been such a faithful servant to you. I mean, I took all those drugs and I heard all those people, but I was doing it for you. I heard you whisper in my ear to do it, Lord, while I was drunk. It told me to do it. You know, good old John Jones, the devout Christian man, the great Christian follower. Doing every single sin in the book, but he's gonna do every sin except for come out. No, that's not a sin. I'm sorry, but he's gonna do everything that's not liked by the church except for come out, which would actually be the right thing to do. which would be to accept himself and be honest for once, not just about who he is as a person, but just anything that John Jones talks about. He's a habitual liar. He's a habitual line stepper. Always pulling shit and then pretending like to be the good Christian. Most UFC champs are older than the UFC. Yes, that is true. Because there were a bunch of UFC champions. I mean, there's Glover Teixeira, of course. He's still hung around somehow. But like they had a bunch of champions that were, they were fucking 30 years old when they fought in the early UFC tournaments. And age is just a number sometimes in mixed martial arts. Like there can be such a thing as ring rust, but Dominic Cruz shows that isn't always the case. I mean, I'd expect most UFC champs to be older than the UFC. Maybe that will start to balance itself out in 1 or 2 decades, but because, obviously generations completely die off eventually over time. But that actually isn't too surprising to me. Already clipped those parts. You clipped my live stream, Andrew, or are you becoming a professional clipper at this point? Good job, man. I'll hire you as an official clipper for the channel. You can be our compadre, man. You're our most devout trooper here, man. So we're gonna give you a badge of fucking honor, and then you'll be really indoctrinated into the army. MMA is better than UFC. Base take once again from Andrew B. They should just the B in Andrew B stands for based because he's having good takes right, left, and center, man. MMA, ONE FC has had great shows. Obviously not good talent, but it's had great shows. Ryzen is always good. UFC is never consistent ever. KSW's so much fun. Cage Warriors is awesome. LFA, I'd argue, is one of the most exciting promotions to watch in spite of the production value. BKFC is great as well. And we're starting to see that MMA boxers are putting on better boxing fights than real boxers are. So outside of UFC, it's basically a treasure trove, and you just take your pick in terms of what great MMA you're going to watch outside the UFC, because it's become a big enough international sport that there are at least 5 or 6 promotions that are so consistent that they're worth watching every other weekend. Which one is better, MMA or UFC? I'd say MMA, obviously, because you can have bad UFC shows, but I think it's highly unlikely that you'll have a bunch of MMA shows for the weekend and not one of them is a good one. Like at the very least, you're going to have a Karate Combat show that's going to deliver a really fun finish, or fucking Fury or fucking Deep in Japan is doing something. So there's always MMA around the world, and it's just a constant fluctuating cycle, and that includes the UFC. Let's go on to my last bit of news I got here. A question regarding Conor McGregor. Is Conor McGregor actually motivated to come back? Or if something happens like a tiny injury on a certain part of his body, is he going to fucking wimp out again? Is Conor sort of like Khamzat right now, where he feels like he let people down when he canceled his fight, and does he have the fighter spirit to go at it again with Michael Chandler? Honestly, at this point, I would have Conor McGregor versus anyone, because it seems fucking clear to me that just like Khabib versus Tony, that fight is fucking cursed, never to happen. So honestly, I wouldn't hold my breath waiting for the UFC's plans for Conor and Chandler in December to get completely canceled as well, because it just seems like the stars are aligning at that point to guarantee something get canceled. Fucking Conor, man. But he's been looking in shape. He's been doing training footage. He's doing his dumb sparring against guys who'd never throw back. So do I feel bad for him is another question I put. I guess a little bit, because I always in my heart of hearts think that Conor McGregor is sort of a guilty pleasure, no Jones. Just because I love the way he talks. He's one of the most charismatic guys in the UFC. He's made his mistakes. They're not John Jones level mistakes. He's come back and he's apologized for them. He gets into trouble way less often. than Jones does. I mean, he has problems with putting fights together, and he used to not do that in his younger days. He actually used to be Mr. Reliable when it came to saving cards. But yeah, with Conor, I can understand why he would pull out. He's been gone for a while. For him to come back and have another injury be the reason why he loses the fight after he like rolled his ankle in his last two fights with Dustin Poirier. Which, by the way, that having hit Conor McGregor fight Dustin a second time after losing to him sort of decidedly is so fucking ridiculous, because if you just watch that fight, it was clear that Conor McGregor was getting pieced up by Dustin Poirier in both of those fights. The UFC should have known that Poirier at this point is just sort of a nightmare matchup for Conor one way or another with the way that he fights. If they book Conor a fourth time to fight Dustin Poirier, the UFC just wants to fucking burn money at this point. It would confirm my theory that Dana doesn't care about the sport anymore, and he just wants to get his priorities in order when it comes to booking stuff instead of actually making money, which means actually making smart decisions and doing things that the fans want. But yeah, Conor McGregor, I feel like he's going to come back. I feel like he is motivated, and he's always high energy. So it's not like he's going to go on some downward spiral like Michael Chandler is. Whenever Conor McGregor pulls up, that motivational speaking isn't going to save you this time, Chandler. You got no fucking excuses. This is still Conor's world, and what he does and doesn't do is his say, and he says what goes and doesn't say what goes. That made absolutely no sense. That was a horrific jumble of words. What he says goes at the end of the day, Chandler. So if he wants to fight someone else, he's gonna fight someone else. I'm sure that he wants that rematch. He wants to have Chandler booked again, but is it ever going to happen? He's always in good shape. He can just never be in shape come fight day. Well, I was wondering to myself if Conor was either a coward for getting out of his fight with Chandler, or if he was a perfectionist and that he wanted to be in the best shape before his fight with Chandler. And I think it's a combination of both. It's a little bit of fear and a little bit of anger at himself. Again, but he's a no Jones, and that's not even a joke. That's just he's not John Jones level of bastard, so I can forgive him. O'Malley, Topuria, and Driscus. It almost reminds me of like a Triscuit cracker. You know what those are? Fucking Triscuit, little grainy little crackers. Those crackers taste like fucking shit. What you really want is the fucking white round crackers that go well with like butter and different things on top of them, like with a little salt sprinkled on. Those are real crackers, or wheat thins are delicious too, but Triscuit fucking sucks. Anyway, O'Malley, Topuria, and Dricus are the only champs in history to be younger than the UFC. Well, there you have it. Eventually the tide's going to turn, I think, come 10 or 20 years later. Then the clock's going to tick a little bit, and we might see a sea change in terms of who's getting titles and who isn't. But yeah, I mean, just look at lightweight in general. We got fucking 6 guys in the top 6 at lightweight who are been around longer than fucking the polio. And, they're somehow still there, and they're still beating younger guys. So sometimes it's just guys who are too experienced and too good as strikers that the younger fighters are out of luck against them. And there's just so much holding up of divisions that you're not going to have a lot of moments of 20-year-olds who just got into the sport fighting for world titles as much as, and that's why Sean O'Malley even won the belt, is because UFC saw that he was going to be a star in the making in terms of his fighting, not his charisma. And so they just gave him a title shot, and that's it shows that UFC should probably be giving younger guys better chances. But Peyton Talbot, you could give him like 3 or 4 fights, and he could be fighting for a belt with how great he is in terms of his fighting style. Like, UFC needs to start marketing guys and pushing them to the top when they're young. Like, Muhammad Ali and all these other great fighters. When did they win their belts? It wasn't when they were fucking 30. So it wasn't when they were 35. Conor McGregor was a young fucking man when he was fighting for a world title. And so you got to keep pushing younger guys. As much as it's a really tough sport and you're putting old fighters out to pasture, the old fighters are honestly just sort of a waste of money, and they just hold up divisions constantly, or just not attractions. So if people come off of Contender Series and they're really doing well, just push them to the fucking moon. I got more of MMA creatures than the other ones I got. So is that a video game or something? Is that a spinoff of mixed martial arts stuff? McGregor is all-time highest. Yeah, no, I don't think McGregor is all-time highest fire. I think that Nick Diaz and the Diaz brothers are probably the highest fighters of all time. And sometimes he gets into trouble. He is the best, and he got some of his docmations. Well, what does that mean, docmations? You might be trying to say something else there. But yeah, Connor's always so much fun, and he's always going to be a star no matter what he does. That's why he's having a spin-off venture with the BKFC, because he can just do whatever the fuck he wants. At this point, honestly, it's probably smart to have McGregor someone controlling the BKFC, because then that means more negotiations with the UFC, and it's just more domination of the MMA world. Yeah, Chandler, if you want to have a rematch, good for you, but you won't win again. Yeah, it's just strange, Andrew. Like, Michael Chandler is, how the fuck old is Michael Chandler? He's got to be up. Yeah, I think he's like 36 or 37 at this point. Like, he is not a spring chicken. Like, as much as he wants to wait his shit out, like he's a 20-year-old John Jones, he's actually more of a fucking Nate Diaz or a Glover Teixeira. You don't have much time left, buddy. Like, this isn't an optional thing with waiting. You either get a fight or you don't. And you've been out of the fucking sport without a fight longer than fucking Covington. Like, what was Michael Chandler's last fight? It was against Dustin Poirier, right? And Dustin Poirier whooped your ass since fucking November of 2022, and you've been gone ever since. Like, that's pathetic, man. And I know that it's not entirely Michael Chandler's fault, but it is still his choice to remain out of action while Connor's gone. And honestly, Connor's playing the long game, dude. He's been out for a while. He's just making Michael Chandler look more amateur by the time he gets into the cage. He's going to look fucking sloppy and not himself. So, yeah, it's going to be a mental W for McGregor, just like Aldo. Mike Chandler is older than Jones. Yeah, get that through your head. Think about that for a second, man. Well, you know, Romero, he was 40 years old, and he still fought like a young man. But and Mike Chandler sort of has that same kind of aura, in that he's getting up there in age, and yet he still swings like a wild man and still puts on fun, fast scraps back and forth. And so maybe he has the build and the athleticism for it. But dude, like, more amount of time you're away from the cage, the more ridiculous you're going to look once you actually start fighting. Like, ring rust is definitely going to apply to Michael Chandler. Like, I know that his style is really simple and that he's not going to look too far off from how he already fights, but time, it doesn't heal all wounds. In MMA, it just aggravates those wounds and turns them into fucking scars. So with Michael Chandler, I think he's just going to look super sloppy compared to if he fought McGregor or somebody else in 2023. But yeah, I don't know, man. I honestly think that the schedule for the UFC is not looking really good in terms of what the appearances are going to be. If Max Holloway isn't fighting Ilya Topuria on that fucking Sphere card, then that is not going to be the biggest sports event of all time. If they're reserved for a fucking main event spot, that's going to be a fucking thumbs down fucking failure, a disaster of a card. Because let's be honest, as much as the UFC has a lot of talent, they don't tend to use them very well. And a lot of the great prospects and the big name value, you don't end up seeing a lot of those guys on main cards. You're having stuff more like fucking UFC 301, where somehow Vitor Petrinos and Anthony Smith are on the main card. We were starting to see it more and more of guys who are fucking scrubs in the UFC somehow getting on the main card. Shit that would have never happened in 2021 or 2022. And I think it's just an excess of talent, and also that we're giving fighters enough money and political pull that they're staying the fuck out of events, and none of them are reliable anymore. And you'll see them in 2 years instead of a couple months. And now I honestly think that UFC is just sort of boxing junior. It's like a discount version of boxing, where guys who are big names are just never around to sign the contract. Or if they are, they just get an injury right after that. So it's becoming more and more hard to book just fights on the UFC. And when that happens, the UFC fucking panics, because anything below guys having star power, they have no idea who the fuck they are or what their last fight was. And instead, they just put some scrubs in there and be like, oh yeah, we'll just throw Doo Ho Choi in there. We'll just throw Christian Rodriguez in there, or Steve Garcia, and they'll know who those guys are. Well, Bill Aljo. Yeah, everybody loves Bill Aljo. And then Giannis Gamori. What a guy. And nobody gives a shit, or especially in the women's division. We don't know who 80% of the women are, and nor are they promoted, and nor have they had a fight in 2 years since like 2021. And so these fighters aren't promoted. They have rotten fights. You don't cut any of them, and instead you just put them on fucking prelims or sometimes even on main cards of fucking Apex shows, sometimes even crowded shows. And these fight nights, they just look fucking garbage because you focus on nationality and ethnicity instead of just are they a star and do they have good fights? That's what we should be focusing on. As much as Dana loves badass fights, he doesn't tend to put a lot of them together when it's on the main card. Sorry, that's my little rant. He had some Netflix shows about himself. Yes, he did. And MMA Guru actually showed up on some of those Netflix shows. Some internet darlings in the MMA universe actually showed up in a lot of fighter documentaries and stuff that the UFC does to promote its events. And so YouTube MMA, including Hank the Tank and Idaho Skatesman, they're Idaho's over here in the corner. He's like Norman's mother in Psycho. He's just a dead puppet that make him talk around every once in a while and try to convince you that he's a living person and not a corpse that I've had for years. But yeah, Idaho's my little puppet. I bring him out every once in a while to entertain the kiddies. But yeah, MMA YouTube, it's growing. We're starting to get more influential because I think hardcore MMA fans and casuals MMA fans at this point are starting to realize that we know our shit way more than the people who actually run the shows. So they need more of us around to get their fucking head straight. Connor. Nice spelling there. I'm sorry, Andrew. Like, I don't want to be mean, but like that might be the worst spelling of Conor McGregor I've ever seen. MMA Guru going to save MMA. I don't know, man. I don't know. I still haven't gotten that much word from him regarding whether he's going to actually have a bonus bank for people fighting in the UFC who get robbed or have injuries or any other circumstance that stops them from getting paid. I'm starting to realize that it's actually becoming a legal challenge to reward fighters who are under contract by the UFC. And so he's in for a few lawsuits if he starts doing that shit. And so now he's sticking to regional MMA is from what I've heard of him the last time. And he hasn't really talked about it much since. I think he's starting to bitch out a little bit, guys. I don't think he's going to be the Mr. Beast philanthropist we all thought he was going to be. And that's a shame. Doo Ho Choi slander won't be tolerated. Well, I'm sorry. He was okay in his prime. I mean, let's be honest. He got his ass beat by Cub Swanson. It was a great back and forth fight, but he hasn't been all that on a roll since. And then he goes off and serves in the Korean Army when he was already pretty mid as a fighter. And then he comes back and he's just same fighting style, if not a little bit worse. Like, he's sort of an artifact at this point. Korean zombie fights better than Doo Ho Choi does. He's fun to watch for sure, but he's just does not have the talent of his predecessors. And he's going to be fighting against Bill Aljo, I think, and that that'll be a fun fight. But I don't think that Choi is going to win that. He doesn't even have the power. Did you fought Money M? You mean Money Moicano? Well, I didn't fight him. I had him on my podcast, my brother. We talked about Trump. We talked about politics. I want to be a cop. We talked about those fucking liberal canto culture bitches. I tell you, my brother. Hank the Tank, he knows what he's talking about, my brother. He's totally not a liberal, my brother. I did not know that till now. Well, I have been ranting for a long time. So oh yes, Idaho Skatesman. He is my little puppet, my little marionette that I bring out every once in a while as an entertainer. I'd be honest, I'd be out of work if it wasn't for good old Skatesman, Slappy the Dummy. Hi, kids, say my name and I'm here. Oh boy, do I have a Woody from last night. Good old Skatesman, the scary Muppet. It's not a legal challenge, it's a gift. If Guru skimp, he's a rat. Yeah, exactly. Like, that's the best case you can have to give yourself a really good reputation in the internet MMA community. And if you go back on that promise after all that fucking talk and saying that you can get it done, like, you ain't no Mr. Beast and you ain't no good influence on the sport at that point. You're just complaining in your fucking apartment. I mean, obviously he has his moments, and he's interviewed Patty and Moicano, so he's a very informative guy. But honestly, his picks are starting to look pretty sus as of the last 2 or 3 months. Like you're consistently seeing him with 4 out of 11 picks, right? 5. He's doing underdogs that don't cash. He's just basically betting on blue on the overs to win, and they're fucking sucking, and he can't predict upsets now. Like Guru's starting to lose his influence a little bit in terms of like actually being the go-to guy for predicting the UFC and getting a hold of what it's about. Like he should stick to fucking UFC political stuff and slandering fighters who are fucking assholes and degenerates and talking with fighters, because in terms of the pick game, he's fucking declining. Yep. Good old Idaho Skatesman, my wooden marionette. Well, I've been chatting for quite a while now. I got 10 more minutes. I promised 2 hours. Let me think of some stuff. Let me take a look at the fight night card we got coming up, actually. Because as much as it's rotten in terms of name value, and it's the second fucking women's MMA main event led fight night card in a row, at least they know that it's trash because they're having this one at the Apex. Yeah, I don't trust Doo Ho Choi against Bill Aljo just because he's getting sort of washed at this point. Doesn't have a lot of power, but there's a surprising amount of good talent on this card. There's Hyder Emil, who I'm really looking forward to. I think he can stand and bang, and he's young and good looking, so he's marketable. Hopefully he gets a finish, but Jong Young Lee is mostly just a grappler, so he might turn that into a fucking bore fest. I've always liked Miranda Maverick, Deon Barbosa. I believe, didn't she? She came close, right? Yeah, she had a decent win in her last fight. That's boring, but Maverick is good. Trey Ogden. Jesus Christ. Muhammad Usman and Thomas Peterson. Fuck. That's the worst possible way that you can start a fucking fight night card. But then going up, Cody Durden versus Bruno Silva. I love those two flyweights. They always have a scrap when it's needed. Cody Durden, I actually really like his grappling style. And with Bruno Silva, he's always swinging like a madman and tough Brazilian bastard. So that'll be fun. I've always respected Kurt Hollabaugh since he beat Austin Hubbard. It was just a sort of a spoiled little bitch. I think coming into that fight, everybody thought that he would win, the A1 wrestler, and Hollabaugh kicked his ass. I'll always respect him for that fight, even though he lost his last one. Who was that against? I think it was Trey Ogden he lost. Yeah, he lost against Trey Ogden. And Ogden's a tough matchup, but Hollabaugh bounces back in style. I just enjoy seeing him fight. Let me read through the chat while I'm going through this. How much longer will you be live? Yeah, I'm live for the next 7 minutes, bro. So get your questions in quick. Give me some exciting debates and hot takes for me before I head out of here. You're my top 3 favorite. Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. And I'm gonna keep pumping out that content, Andrew. I'm still gonna have some fun for you on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because I'm watching that absolute human atrocity that is Lemos versus Verna. I'm going into the war zone for you guys. I'm fucking putting my life on the line. I'm bleeding for you guys. I'm a degenerate. I'm going to lose some brain cells watching this for you guys. So I'm a man of the people. I do what the people say. And I'm going to keep I'm going to keep my status as your top 3 favorite locked in tight, Andrew. I'm going to make sure I keep that spot. Want to see if Hank wants to run down the card with me? Yeah, I can, man. Sure thing. Next time I'll hop on it. Well, I mean, we got 5 more minutes. Do you want me to send you a StreamYard link? I can get it done. I can spend a few extra minutes. Shalom, saw the top to your message, but I'm busy right now. Wishing you well. Bless his stream. Thanks, man. Thanks, Tyrone. Tyrone's the man when he's not absolutely dominating Fear Factor or scamming old high school friends out of their house. He's a solid guy in the chat, and he knows his stuff as much as he's a casual. He always has some enlightening viewpoints. Next time you hop on, blah, blah, blah. Oh, God. Too much information, man. Come on. Listen, I'm a little bit of a weeb. I'll admit it. I'm Isha levels of weeb, not just for MMA. And in terms of like Holo Live and like girls who are like trying to be idols, they call that an idol meeting. Okay, they have other language for taking a shit. So if in my chat you don't mention poop and all those terrible scary words, even though I've been swearing like a fucking sailor. Poop, I don't know, it just gets on my nerves. I don't like it, man. So try to come up with some sort of allegory for that. I'm going for the underdog. Which underdog, Andrew? Is that in the Lemos versus Jandaroba fight? I can understand wanting to pick Jandaroba as an underdog because Amanda Lemos, as much as she had good stand up when she was facing Mackenzie Dern, Dern got her right down on her back, and she did absolutely nothing with it. So she's absolutely useless on the feet. That's a decent underdog to pick, Andrew. I like your way of thinking there. I might pick Lemos anyway because I absolutely fucking despise that ogre, and I want whatever that freak is to lose at every single turn. That fucking cross-eyed hills have eyes extra, but you know it is looking sort of likely that Verna could probably take her down. I mean, she was able to beat up Lupi Godinez, and she was able to take her opponents down with relative ease. So honestly, that's not a bad underdog pick. As much as it absolutely disgusts me to even think of the possibility of picking that fucking piece of human radiation. I don't know, man. 1 like away from 10. Yeah, let's get up those likes, people. If you got alternative accounts, hey, I'm not gonna judge, man. Switch to those alt accounts and bring up those likes, brother. We got to send our message to the world. Honestly, I'm just more glad that I'm able to talk with you guys and have some people in the chat to talk with me, because this was sort of an experiment. I wasn't expecting for this to be the most liked video on our channel. Obviously, like the thumbnail fucking sucks, but I just want to make sure that I know who's here who wants to just be consistently around and just chat when we want to bullshit and rack up those viewing hours, you know? So I'm glad to know that we got a few loyals who are willing to just banter with me. Well, now saying squirting my colon junk. I'll take it. That's poetry right there, No Chill. You should be a writer. Sweet. Yeah. That's why I said radiation. I really don't think she's anything resembling a human. I think she's more like those fucking Ents from Lord of the Rings who are like tree people. And then
little hobbitses shouldn't be playing around in the forest. Verna, release the dam!
You know, that's her native language. Thumbnails, MMA YouTube Hall of Fame. Thanks, brother. Well, I'm gonna definitely work on that fight companion thumbnail for Lemos versus Kenny. Don't say her name. Don't say her name within this bar, within this establishment. She's everywhere. You know, she who must not be named, I will not name her. But I got a fun thumbnail idea on the way. I think you're gonna like it. No Chill. It's like a fucking slasher horror movie, you know. So it fits perfectly. No Chill yet could do that. Yikes! It's the J Life Project. With your host, Jay Helwani. No, J Life Project on this dreary Tuesday afternoon. J Life Project back in your life. What's going on, man? Are you actually JL, or are you from the good old days of doing fucking spin-off accounts of Jay? I'd actually like to know, because I look. It seems like I'm looking at a man out of time who's from the past, now suddenly in the present to fuck up my shit. Damn it, I miss it. Well, you didn't. You got 40 more seconds, pal. You better make those words last. Good old Dylan. I can stick around for you, Dylan. Going full chill Wani tomorrow, starting to interview fighters.
I mean, what the heck, No Chill? You gotta accuse them of tolerating abuse, you know, because it's bad. And if they defend Dana White, that means that they're defending a wife beater, you guys. Hey, if they're outside the UFC, they're good with you. But if they're in the UFC, I mean, come on, what the heck? You're tolerating a scumbag.
Let's go. Woo!
Yeah, baby. That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. Woo!
Good old Gaina White. I love everything about that kid, Gaina. That's what I named my son. I make sure that he never hangs around John Jones because, hey, who knows what could happen. My good old son, Gaina, always on his phone, never paying attention to the action. There is no better homosexual than Gaina. Ever, ever. He's my pride and joy. You could make me a mod. I absolutely could. But I'll have to save that for later, Andrew, because I gotta wrap this shit, up. So last call for some zany comments before I stay true to the video title and finish this shit. Any partakers, anybody at all? Do I hear 50? 50? Do I hear 50 for this video? 60, 60, 70, 8. Do I get 60? Thoughts about Alice Ardeline? She was the TikTok naked person that you watched, right? No chill. Tracy Cortez smells like turtle ankles. That's it. Hey, I'm gonna finish up on that statement because I don't know, man. That's just a thing of beauty from good old Nate Diaz, Marty Juiceman from Nebraska, and it absolutely rings true, and that'll age like a fine wine over time, just like what's in my flask. You thought this was water? Good one, man. That's hilarious. You fucking stupid motherfuckers. A couple of suckeroonies. So I'll leave it there on that piece of absolute literary beauty from Juiceman. You all are beauties. You're all beauties, as Isha would say. Oh man, what a beauty! What a beauty! Marty Juiceman, what a beauty he is. Thoughts of Islam and Armin? I think Islam kicks Armin's ass. I think he beats him up. I don't know if he. I think he does finish Armin. I think he probably knocks him out probably in the 4th round because. Just with Armin, he's going to have his little scramble fest with Islam, but this is a new and improved Islam. He's a fantastic kickboxer and Muay Thai guy. His Sambo's fantastic. Like, Islam's just a better striker than Armin is. And even Charles Oliveira was, like, canceling his shit out. I've never seen him land a real major blow on the feet. So I think as the fight goes long enough, eventually Islam's just going to knock his ass out. With that being said, thank you for attending the first solo live stream of me, Hank the Tank. You have escaped the war zone for now. I'm on to you. You keep hanging out, getting out of platoons, drinking on the job. I'm gonna whoop your ass. You will not laugh. You will not cry. Hey, what is this we got, Colonel Sanders? A jelly donut. Whip, 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 whip.